Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Tom's Hardware Show. Thank you for joining us this wonderful Thursday. Today, with me, I have Avram Pilch and Roger Shinmoto from Patriot Memory. Roger has some fun new products to show us, but before we do that, let's roll the thing. Awesome. So, again, this is an episode of the Tom's Hardware Show. We come at you every Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, talking about the latest tech news and occasionally giving you a window to industry figureheads. So, today with us, we have Roger Shinmoto from Patriot Memory. How are you doing, Roger?
I'm doing fine. Thanks for having me.
Great. And we also have Avram Pilch, who is the editor-in-chief of tomshardware.com. How are you, Avram? Oh, Avram, it seems like you're muted.
All right, pretty good. Sorry about that. Just want to make sure no one hears the toddler if it's not necessary. So yeah, I'm great. Really excited to talk about just to hear what's new with Patriot and Viper Gaming. We have very much enjoyed some previous Viper products, including the V765 keyboard, which has been one of our been at the top of our favorite list for quite a long time. So really curious to hear what's new.
Awesome. So yeah, we've been talking with Roger. He has some cool new products to show us. But before we get to that, I do want to let you know that we are taking your questions throughout the show. So leave them in whatever comment box you have below, and we'll show them and ask Roger. So you have as much access as we do. But without further ado, Roger, I know you have 3 things to show us today, correct?
Yeah, correct. So hi, my name is Roger Shinmoto. I'm with Patriot's product development team. And today I'm here to introduce 3 new products that we're going to be launching later this year. And the first is our Viper Venom DDR5 high-performance memory kits. So I don't know if you can see them, but this is a sample of what they're going to look like. Brand new aluminum heat shield design, 2-tone color, black and silver with red highlights. This is the RGB version, so there's a translucent light bar going on the top that's going to illuminate, and we will be producing a non-RGB version as well, where this component will be blacked out. These will be our initial offering. We'll be launching 16 gigabyte to 32 gigabyte kits, ranging from 4800 megahertz up to 6200 megahertz. And so
Awesome.
we're really excited to launch that.
So those will be launching in kits of times 2, I assume, like 2
Correct.
sticks per?
2 sticks per, so 2 8-gig sticks, 2 16-gig sticks. And we're looking to launch these around March of this year.
Great. I do have a quick question about that. So DDR5, we talked about it a few shows back. You're talking about Windows 11 and such. DDR5 can get pretty expensive. So, how does Viper Venom DDR5 justify purchasing it over DDR4?
Yeah, right. Well, it is the latest and greatest technology, right? So as with any new technology, it will be a little more pricey than existing technology. But right out of the gate, you're looking at clock speeds from 4800 megahertz up to 6200 megahertz and beyond once the components become available. Right now, our fastest DDR4 kit is 4400 megahertz. So right out of the gate, you're getting that improved performance. However, we fully anticipate as D5 starts to catch on and the fabs start producing the DRAM in greater quantities, that those costs will come down. However, DDR5 is sort of a revolutionary type product as well, because it's one of the more complex memory modules introduced in quite a while. This DRAM module has a built-in PMIC, 2 thermal sensors. So there's a lot more added componentry going into it, and it's a lot more sophisticated than DDR4. And that helps keep the cost or the development costs up initially. But again, as the economies of scale kick in, we fully anticipate the products start coming down in price eventually.
Cool. It's great to hear that sort of insight from you and that transparency about the potential price changes. That said, you're going to be releasing DDR5, but will you still support DDR4? A
Oh,
bunch of
sure.
people will probably still be on that for quite a while.
Yeah, DDR4 is still the mainstay of the market, right? So we don't anticipate D5 really replacing DDR4 for quite a while. It's just the cutting edge technology, and we want to be there, offering these types of products initially. I mean, in truth, we're still supporting DDR3 platforms out there. So it's going to take, quite a while, I think, for D4 to fade off and ride off into the sunset. So yeah, we're still supporting that for quite a while.
Cool. On that note, you mentioned that this is the RGB version. Does the RGB less version look appreciably different, or does it just not have the lighting?
So it will look exactly the same from
Okay.
a heat shield standpoint. It's just this translucent light bar along the top here will be blacked out. So
Cool. So those
there's
are
no point.
that's the color scheme that's available then, black and white, both versions?
Correct. This is our initial product offering. So it'll be black and silver with translucent light bar and the red Viper logo.
Cool. Avram, any questions?
No, I was just going to say that we at Tom's Hardware ran an article just yesterday about the price drops on DDR5 RAM. That in the last month, some of the prices have gone down as much as like 80%. Granted, they're still super expensive compared to DDR4, but it used to be that you were paying $1,300 for a RAM kit, and now you're paying for $400 or $500 for the same kit. So, it's much more reasonable. It's still a lot more money, but it's much more reasonable. So I think this is trending in the right direction.
Yeah.
Awesome. I think I agree. But DDR5 obviously isn't the only thing you have to show us today. As far as I understand, you also have a cooler to show us, correct?
Correct. Yeah. So this is our first product into the cooling market. The thought process and idea behind this was to bring out more internal components with the Viper branding. This is an RGB cooler.
Oh, it seems like we might have lost Roger just a little bit. Avram, do we still have you?
Yeah, I'm here. All right, maybe his system overheated once he took the cooler out to show it to us.
This is the unfortunate thing with running these shows live. People, we never know what's going to happen, especially when everyone's in a different location. Because we're all working remotely right now.
Message him while we're waiting. I'm gonna pull out here. Hold on. I'm gonna pull out a Patriot product that I have on hand, which is not super clean because I've been using it, or it has been used for a while. But this is the Patriot Viper V765 keyboard, and this is been. Is it still at the top of our list?
It is no longer at the top of our list, but it was at the top of the list for years before that. And
Yes,
it's pretty much just because age at this point, but it's still very good.
Yes. So this is the Patriot Viper V765 keyboard, which is one of the best values around. By the way, I'm not here to, we have guests on, but I'm not here to personally to promote their products, but
right.
But hopefully if Roger comes back, I would ask him about whether we might see any new keyboards in the future, because this has definitely been one of our faves, thanks to the value that you get for it. Sometimes you can get it for on sale for less than $70. You get white switches, which are my personal favorite. you get a really nice RGB light show, and of course, and you get media buttons on it, and it's just a really really nice feel. So
I like that clicky sound. It does seem like Roger has. We're using a back end, everyone. It does seem like Roger's hopped into the back. Okay,
oh yeah,
he's back. So I'm gonna add him back to the stream. How you doing, Roger?
Hi there. Sorry about
Oh,
that. I guess we're having a bit of a
no
connection problem there.
worries. We took the moment
Yeah.
Avram
So,
showed off a keyboard from Patriot Viper that we've really
oh
liked
yeah,
in the
yeah.
past. You might
I
ask some
saw that.
questions about that later, but
Sure, no problem. Okay,
back to
so I don't
the
know how much you
cooler.
heard. Yeah, getting back to the cooler. So this is our first CPU cooler, and again, I don't know if you heard, but we're using a tried and true air-cooled design. A little bit of innovation in the heat transfer technology. So we're using what we call HCTT, which is heat core touch technology. Essentially, the 4 heat pipes are formed and shaped and embedded into the mounting bracket in a way that they come in direct contact with the CPU itself. This is going to promote more efficient heat transfer up to the radiator and fins. We do utilize a higher power motor, variable power via variable CFM, and we did want to make this as quiet as possible. So it's a little quieter than the standard CPU coolers that you're going to get with your CPU. This is a RGB version. As you can see, our logo is etched at the top, and it has some LED lighting underneath, and it is compatible with the sync softwares from Gigabyte, ASUS, and MSI.
Great.
This one we're
I think you
looking.
answered some of my questions there.
Oh.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, I'm sorry. I forgot to mention when we plan on launching this. So we were planning on launching this at the end of Q2. However, we just learned of a possible mechanical issue with one of the latest Intel sockets. So we're waiting for them to, lock that spec down, and we're waiting on the finalized spec for the new AM5 socket. So we want this to be compatible with all the latest processors out there. So we may delay the launch a bit until those specs are finalized, but we're still targeting end of Q2.
Great. That reminds me, did we talk about the potential release date for the DDR5 RAM that you showed us?
Yeah, I believe I mentioned it. We're looking to launch this in March.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, you did. Apologies. Thank you. I think you answered a bunch of my questions about the CPU cooler. Is there going to be a non-RGB version of that though?
No, this is our initial offering, and this is how we're going to go about it. I think future products that we're looking at developing as far as internal components would be maybe a water-cooled CPU cooling fan in the future. But this being our first product, we wanted to kind of go with some tried and true technology.
Yeah, I wanted to ask about that. So, what made you decide to go for this direction with your first cooler?
It's just one of those things where we want to kind of increase our brand awareness in a way that we hope to create more of an internal ecosystem, right? So Viper really started out as a DRAM company. We started out with DRAM, and then we started introducing the high performance SSDs. This was just another way that we could, put our logo and light it up and get it looking good in some of these custom rigs that are being made right now.
Speaking of, we have our first viewer question. Blake the Moon asks, will the CPU cooler come in any other colors?
At this time, it's going to be basic black with the LED lighting or RGB lighting.
Okay. Avram, it seems like you've had a couple questions to ask.
Yeah, no, I mean, I just I'm really curious about the headphones that Roger is wearing.
So we wanted to save the best for last. We actually swapped Roger to these headphones before the stream started. So you've managed to get a sneak peek of it throughout the stream. But yeah, these are new headphones, correct, Roger?
Correct. So this is product number 3. So this is the V385 headphone. I'm going to take them off for a bit. You may not be able to hear me, so you can actually see them.
I
It
think
seems
you're
like you're
muted.
muted, Roger.
You're muted.
But I do like the look of those. The Viper V380 headphones, which were the predecessor to this, got 4 stars in our review, and I'm curious to see how this compares to those. But Roger, can you hear us?
We
It
can't. We
seems
can't.
like you're still muted on your end. It might have been when you unplugged the mic.
So what I think he's going to say is that these are the wireless version because I don't see any connection wire, whereas the V385, I mean the V380 is USB, which I really actually really like the V380. I like the look of it.
Mm-hmm.
This seems like a more austere look. I don't know if this has any RGB on it. That one had lots of RGB. Now,
I'm
as you can see, I
curious. It
like
seems like
RGB on my
the
headphones.
side can light up, but it might not be lit up right now. Apologies, everyone. We're using a backend that Roger might not be entirely familiar with. If you want to go to your sound settings, the little gear in the bottom, you might be able to.
We can hear you now. I guess it's on the PC.
Yeah, sorry guys. I think what happened was when I unplugged the microphone, we lost the connection and getting the automatic.
No worries. We actually weren't sure whether or not to have Roger using the headset throughout the stream, but we thought it would be good, and that's the danger that we get from choosing that.
But you
Right.
can hear me okay now, right? So,
Yes.
Okay, great.
So this is wireless, correct?
Correct. So this is using 2.4 gigahertz wireless transmission signal. And one of the features, design features that we wanted to do with this new 385 was gear it more for the console user. Console gaming is still very popular. Using a wired headset on a console sometimes can be cumbersome. So what we did was we built same great sound quality. We're using a 50 millimeter driver in here. We have 3 preset EQ settings that are actually built into the ear cup itself or into the chipset. So you don't need a software. There's no RGB to control or anything. We wanted to maximize battery life with this, and we figured, eliminating the RGB was a good method to do that. So our focus was on comfort, sound quality, and that long battery life. All the controls are located on the ear cups. So you have your volume control, your EQ setting control, and a mute control. The microphone, as you know, is removable in case you just want to do some music listening and whatnot. Great transmission distance, measured it over 40 feet. We spec it at 40 feet, but it's actually, line of sight 50 or so. And the battery life is very good on this, 25 plus hours. In reality, when I've tested it, it's gone closer to 30, but we wanted to be a little more conservative with our specs. We're advertising 25 plus. And
I think we saw it a little bit earlier. Are these over ear then?
Yes.
As opposed to on ear? Great.
Over ear.
And is that cloth or leather?
So the headband itself is a high quality PU leather. The ear pads themselves are high quality protein leather, PU.
Great.
And the construction, we have metal ear cup holders or frames, as well as high impact ABS plastic for the rest of it.
How does it charge?
So we use a 1.8 meter Type-C power cable to charge it. So Type-C, we get a little faster charge rate. However, it's also a data transmission cable. So in case you drain the battery on your headset, you can always plug it in and use it as a wired headset as well.
Oh, great.
Oh,
Avram, do you have any questions?
So I'm kind of curious. So you decided not to go with RGB, just really to focus on the battery life?
Correct. Yeah. I know, our gamers love RGBs, and most of our headsets do have LED lighting or RGB function. But when we were in development of this, we found the best way to maximize our battery life was to eliminate the RGBs.
Yeah, it's definitely a trade-off for.
I think that makes sense. As far as I could tell, it looks like you're using a wireless RGB headset, Avram. Do you notice like poor battery with that, or it's not the flashiest looking RGB?
Well, this is what I'll be honest. This is what I've had around, and I have actually liked it because the battery life has. This is the Logitech. I think it was the 735, and I have liked it. I mean, the sound quality has been good. The battery life has been good, but on the other hand, maybe I'm using it for an hour or two at a time, and then I don't really push it because if I think I might run out of battery, then I go plug it in because I'm not taking it very far, so it's in my home office. But but yeah, it's. I mean, that looks like a very nice professional looking headset. Very very slick. I'd definitely be eager to try it. It looks. I mean, it looks much. It looks more less gaudy and more like serious. So if you want to, be on a stream or be on a, um, doing something, right? It's less gaudy than that. Now,
For
I like.
anyone who's curious, I pulled up on my second monitor our review of the V380 headset, and you can see how the RGB kind of surrounds the cup there. It's also in kind of what looks like a trapezoidy shape to me. I don't know if that's just like a visual illusion from the
Yeah.
RGB, but it looks like the ear cups are in that shape to me. I don't know if I'm
Yeah.
getting the same effect from the V385 though. Does it look different?
It's
Or
round.
Yeah, the V385 is more oval shape.
okay.
Typically, we went with the trapezoidal shape for our headsets. Starting with the V360, we decided to sort of break from tradition on this iteration and go with a more oval, kind of just to kind of shrink the size down a little bit. For a wireless headset, we don't want it to look too massive.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's always the trade off, right? When we're appearing on, like Michelle, what are you using right now? Do you have like wireless buds?
So
Do
what
you-
I'm using right now, I do have wireless buds, but they're not the greatest quality right now. I'm using my Blue Yeti mic, and then plugged into my computer, I just have like cheap wired earbuds. I prefer to use that for the show just because I feel it's a bit more professional looking, but
Right.
I do have like a wired gaming headset for casual use.
I'm always in a dilemma about that because I hate in ear headphones. They make me very uncomfortable. But I feel like I can't just go on a show and not, whether I'm the host or guest or whatever, and have not have headphones on because then, you might get the backdrop noise from my speaker or whatever. Whereas if I'm just on a conference call for work, I'm less conscientious
Yeah,
about
I
that.
wouldn't use a speaker on the show. I
Right.
don't love the in-ear headphones because they kind of block how I hear my own voice. But that's neither here nor there. Thank you, Roger, for showing us this headset. I do have we have some viewer questions.
Yeah, sure.
But before we get to those, I do have a question of my own. Does this have Bluetooth capability or any secondary connection modes?
It doesn't. This is strictly 2.4.
Okay, great. So that leads us into our first viewer question. Bluetooth headphones often have a delay in the sound. Do wireless headphones, I assume 2.4, meaning they have less delay?
Yeah, well, I guess it depends on the Bluetooth technology that you're using. There are a lot of, I think the later standards now have less delay. But 2.4 has been out for quite a while, and it's a proven technology. I guess the next technology that people are looking at is the 5 gigahertz wireless, technology or Wi-Fi technology. We haven't noticed any kind of significant delay as far as testing, through our testing. It seems like it's pretty instantaneous.
I feel like that tends to be the case with a 2.4. That's why you see like a lot of gaming keyboards opt for 2.4 for that reason. And with surround sound, there's more than an aesthetic benefit to listening with headphone. There's like a potential gaming performance advantage. So it's good to hear that it doesn't have that lag. I know you mentioned also this is very console focused, so you want it to be easily controllable on the ear cups, but assume you're playing at PC, you have access to your full setup. Does this headset come with software? Is there any software it's compatible with? Can I play with it more, deeply with software if I choose?
No, not at this time. There's just not much of a need for the app itself. We figured, putting in the EQ settings, it doesn't have any kind of special sound effects like our V380 chips it allows for. There's no RGB lighting control. You don't really need it for that. So, really we wanted to put this out there with the mobile gamer in mind, if you will, the console gamer in mind. And then also make sure that, PC gamers can still use it adequately as well.
Okay.
If you want
Off
something
of
more
that,
sophisticated- oh, yeah.
sorry, no worries.
Yeah.
Off of that, I do have a quick question. I want to push you just a tiny little bit. Probably won't get anything from this, but obviously this seems to be very different from the V380, which great. I'm glad that it's covering a different use case. But does this mean we might potentially see another headset that's a more direct follow-up to the V380 in the future?
Oh, sure. I mean, we're always looking at updating the product line. Currently, V380 is still one of our more popular headsets out there, right? So we want to continue that lineage, and if there's something new that we can bring to the table in terms of sound quality, I don't know, maybe transmission, something we can add to the app, we'll definitely look at doing that. But right now, 7.1 surround is pretty much where it's at. And, we're not doing much more than that at this point. So, as with all our products, we just want to offer something that's solid quality, has all the right features, and hopefully is a good value to our users.
What about haptic feedback? No, I'm kidding. There's
Haptic
a lot
feedback.
of fancy new niche features getting added to
Yeah.
competing headsets. So,
Well, to be honest with you, the V360, which was our first headset, does have that bit of a haptic feedback, right? We have the UDR system or the extra bass in there that really, vibrate the headset a little bit in those loud sounds when explosions and things like that. But no, we're really focused on the surround sound, good quality, and letting gamers kind of, ID their targets or enemies from wherever around them.
great. So I know you mentioned this, but just reminding for anyone who wasn't watching at that point, Kevin Patag asks, how long is the battery life?
Yeah, so the battery life is 25 plus hours.
Great.
And in my testing, I've actually gotten it closer to 30, but we're being a little bit conservative with our spec.
Cool. Kevin, apologies if I butchered your name there. So going back a little bit, we have another question about the CPU cooler. For how many watts is it rated?
Wattage. Okay, I'm gonna have to revert to my notes here.
While Roger looks for
7.2
his...
watts. Sorry about that.
Go on, Roger. Sorry, I didn't mean to talk over
I'm
you.
sorry. 7.2 watts is what
7.2 watts. Cool. So Avram, do you have any questions about the headset or?
Well, I just wanted to ask overall, and I'm not sure if you can say is, I mean, first of all, I want to say, as I was showing while you were briefly off, like we absolutely loved the Viper V765 keyboard, which I have here, and it really when we tested that, it really introduced me to a whole new world of key switches. So now, like everything I judge against, like Kale key switches, I love them. I have one sitting on my desk right now, a box white, which is the one kind that you use in the V765, and I have to give you guys some credit because there's very few companies that are actually using these switches. A lot of people have to go either they're brands that people haven't heard of, not a major brand like Patriot Viper, or you have to go out and buy these key switches and put them into a hot swappable or build your own keyboard. So I'm kind of curious. It's been a while. Are you thinking about follow-ups to your V765 or other keyboard lines?
Yeah, well, not so much the 765, but the 730's been out for quite a while, right? And there have been some, upgrades that we can do with the keys there. Looking at things like optical switches, RGB optical switches, things like that, right? The 730 is using a brown switch, tried and true. It's been out there for quite a while. Optical switches boast, shorter delays. So, you know, it's good. It's good for the gaming community, and the prices come down on those to the point where we think we can put together a nice keyboard with those types of switches and introduce it to the market. So, you know, long story short, yeah, we're considering different keyboard options, especially to kind of refresh some of the older models that we've had out there. 765 is going pretty well. 770, you know, it's our top of the line. It's got pretty much everything, including the kitchen sink, built into it. So we don't really want to touch that.
Yeah, yeah. Do you get a lot of good feedback on the switches?
Yeah, I mean, you know, for those people that like that clicky feel, that tactile feel, it's a great switch, right? And water dust resistant, longevity.
I was up until I tested with this switch, I would always use like I was one of those old school people that would use an IBM keyboard for the Lexmark buckling spring switches. The keyboard geeks in the audience will know what I'm talking about. And because I didn't think it was better than like Cherry MX Blue or whatever. And then I tested this. I was, wow, this is like changed my typing game. Oh. So it's you know, I think it was real innovation for you guys to actually deploy that switch when when many others are just either using for their clicky switch or either using blue or they're using some type of blue, whether it's Cherry MX or not.
Yeah,
it's always fascinating to me to hear Avram's opinions on mechanical keyboards because I've always used linear switches, and Avram loves that old school, clicky, tactical, like sunglasses on, hacking, I'm in kind of feel.
Yeah, you got it. You got it. I'm all about the noise, but which is why you need a good microphone and a good headset so that the people you're talking to don't necessarily hear it.
But it's good to know that actually on my end, then you mentioned optical switches a lot. That is actually what I type on for the most right now. Any like new optical keyboards we could look forward to, or?
No, well, I don't have anything to announce at this time. I can tell you though that is a switch technology that we're really interested in. Just just for the performance aspect of it. I know that they were kind of new in the beginning and maybe a little gimmicky, but when you really think about it and look at it, hot swappable, zero delay. It really makes sense for a gaming keyboard. So that's something that we're looking for, and I just kind of have to find a position for it in our lineup. And I think the 730 is a good place for it.
I like optical because I feel like I'm not sacrificing speed when I'm gaming, but I still feel like I have decent feedback for like when I'm working, and I'm doing my work and gaming on the same keyboard now because I'm working from home, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's still a mechanical switch, right? It's just the actuation is more optical or light driven as opposed to that mechanical electrical connection. So.
Great. One quick question off the back of that. I'm using a 10 keyless right now. I know Avram showed off his keyboard was a full size. What is your sort of sweet spot for keyboard sizes at Patriot?
Well, we only offer the full-size keyboards, right? So the 104 key, the 765 is actually our best-selling model, to be honest with you. We stuck with full-size keyboards just because, for our markets and whatnot, that seems to be what's in most demand.
Okay, that was kind of my gentle way of maybe pushing for other keyboard sizes. We have our friend Kevin is back 60% keyboard in the work, would make a good companion for the 385. But again, we're not your market research team. Just wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
I've heard that a lot, and I'm really interested in those, TKL keyboards. They're great for travel and compactness. I think we have the right components to build a good one. So,
but again, I think this is one of the areas where Avram and I differ because he loves his numpad, right?
Yeah. Oh, listen, I would like to have more switches. I believe that your 770 actually has extra function keys, right?
That's correct.
I think I think that's good. Like, give me more buttons to press. I don't understand, but
I want more space on my desk. I live in a New York apartment, Abram.
What's the apartment for if not buttons? What's the desk for if not? What do like? Why have anything else but buttons? You need
mouse mat space for
Okay.
aiming for the shooters that I don't play anymore because I'm too old and can't compete with the teenagers.
You need more we all need more buttons. If I could get like one of those if I could get like a terminal keyboard that had an extra function row, I would and put the switches in it that I wanted, I absolutely would, because you could never have enough screens or enough buttons. That's my philosophy.
So I think we've left you with two diametrically opposed suggestions for future development. But on that note, thank you for joining us, Roger. Abram, do you have any final questions about what Roger's shown us today?
No, I'm excited to see these products up closer when they get closer to coming out.
Great. Yeah. And thank you for joining us, everyone in the chat. It was great taking your questions. We will see you again next Thursday at 3 p.m. as always for another edition of the Tom's Hardware Show. Once again, thanks to Roger, and we'll see you then, and stay safe, stay happy, everyone. Bye.
Bye-bye.